Hello there, Margarita here. Welcome to the Rise Up with Margarita show, which is my weekly show every Monday at 2 p.m. Eastern Time, where I go into topics that really help the new leaders of light rise up and really change the world. And so, welcome to today's topic being the top 5 energy drains for light workers and what to do about them. So, I thought this was a really important topic to speak on today because this is something that I was hearing a lot on social media, on Instagram, on Facebook, and it was just kind of across the board. A lot of people really feeling the intensities of the energies. And so, what I'm going to cover today is why you're feeling the intensities of these energies, why you're feeling really drained right now, and also go into the top 5 energy drains for light workers, and those areas where your energy is leaking out. Because what's also happening, there's a lot of different levels going on, because whenever it comes to energy, there's always different levels. So I'm going to speak into those various levels because some of them are about rejuvenation, some of them are about feeling drained, some of them are about getting drained. So I'm going to speak into all of that, and then I'm also going to share with you some next steps, action steps on how you can address that. So, hi, David. Hi, Annie. Good to see folks here. Jen, Irma is here as well. So, welcome, welcome. And so, if you're just popping in, it is today's topic being top 5 energy drains for light workers and what to do about them. And so, I guess I could just ask for a show of emoticon hands. Who is feeling the energy? Yeah, David is saying this energy came in so strong. Yeah, absolutely. Like there was just so many things going on. And so I'm going to share with you a little bit about why you're feeling all this intensity. I mean, so number one, there's Gaia's Schumann resonance, right? As you probably are familiar with, the Schumann resonance is kind of like Gaia's heartbeat, the monitoring of Gaia's heartbeat. And that's something that actually my partner Stacy, he really monitors all that. And so that's why I'm always like in the know because he looks at it every day. Every day. He's like always checking those things out. And so that Schumann resonance, very high. It's been consistently high. And people are putting up the thumbs up and the hands up. Yeah, you guys are feeling it, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And so there's a Schumann resonance for one. So when, as Gaia is ascending, we are also ascending because we're literally on her body and we're elevating with her because literally we're feeling all the feels just as she is, right? And so there's that level. And then you've also got the Solaris energy happening, the sun. And the sun carries powerful ascension codes, light codes that are actually streaming down into us every day. And so it's always very interesting why all of a sudden, certain individuals want to try to block out the sun, because, there's this awareness of how awakening the codes are in the sun. Baganero watching live from Ghana. Hello there. Hello there. Yeah. David is saying Stacy's the in-house solar investigator. Thank you, Stacy. Yeah, he's all kinds of investigation. So, it's like that's why I actually have so much of a window into what's really going on in the world because that's his jam. So there's the Schumann resonance. There is the Solaris ascension codes and the frequencies streaming down, bringing in that ascension frequency into our beings. And so that's why I highly recommend. And, I'm going to kind of mention this in what I'm about to share around what you can do about the top 5 energy drains you might be feeling right now. And one of them is to really, be in the sun. Be in the sun, do some gentle sun gazing, when it's starting to go down a little bit and you just kind of like relax your eyes and you just kind of take it in and just allow yourself to receive the codes, like you will get rejuvenated from that. So, I mean, that was kind of like a little mention there before I go into the action steps. But the sun codes, that's how you do that. So the sun, that energy, there's a lot of intention there, intensity. The solar flares, really, really powerful that come from the sun. We've been getting high class solar flares like X class, M class, those are all the big ones. And they're all coming like more and more and more. So we've been feeling it. So, and it affects us all differently. And, for me, for instance, when it comes to solar flares, I do get tired, but when it comes time to sleep, I'm like, doing. It's like someone just rang a bell and I'm awake and wide open. So, I don't really get much sleep when it's the solar flares. And so here's another thing. You're also picking up on the collective fear. And I know a lot of you have told me about this. I've been reading it in your DMs and in your comments. And so there's a lot of intense collective emotion right now. And if you're an empath, which you probably are because you're here, and I tend to attract those powerful empath, light worker, star seeds, light leaders in the world. So there's that collective fear going on, and it's big, it's palpable, it's strong. And so if you're not really centered in yourself as an empath, you're gonna feel like taken out a lot. You're gonna be like, it's gonna affect all of your things that you're experiencing in the world, right? And the thing is that when you're an empowered light worker, then you actually start to, like it doesn't affect you as much, right? I'll just say that. And so I'll get into that a little bit in a moment. And here's the thing about the fear is that fear can feel really powerful. And the anger that comes from fear can feel really powerful. I mean, back in the day, I was like queen of, being in her rage and like taking it out on the streets of New York City, when I was a punk rocker. I was that person. I would not like to bump into that version of myself from back in the day. Let's just say that. So, anger can feel really powerful, but there's really no power behind it. It's actually sadness, and it's actually fear that is behind anger. And so there's a lot of anger, a lot of fear, a lot of survival concerns coming up for people. And there's a very strong scarcity programming going on in the collective, and it's being inserted intentionally. And Loxley Kenny says, I has such an energy burst and I've been tired since the weekend. Yeah, a lot of movement, a lot of shifts going on. So, you're probably picking up on all this empath energy, as an empath, that is, picking up on all the collective fear, the scarcity programming, the survival stuff. That is intentional, okay? Like all of that fear programming, all of this, getting you to a point of you, just getting wrapped up in whatever you're concerned about, which is why I'm always on you guys with, clearing out your fears and all that, because it's not just because you just don't want to be fearful. It's because when you have fears that are deep, that can still be triggered, and this is part of why I talked about triggers in yesterday's post, when you still get highly triggered, those are the areas where Team Dark gets into the kink of your armor and lodges in there and starts to fester. And then it's just going to like pile it on and pile it on and pile it on, where you're just going to be like, oh my God, I can't do this. I can't handle this. This is too much for me. Like all of the stuff is going to come out, right? And so that's why I'm always encouraging you to address and be aware of and heal your fears so that they get cleared, so that you no longer become like this puppet for the fear programming, okay? Another thing, we're in a cosmic war, okay? It's still going on. We've had many cosmic wars. They've been intense. Gaia has been, the brunt of that, because there's been a lot of battle around Gaia, because, we're a very, how would I say? We're a very special species. I'll just say that. We're a very special species, a lot of galactic DNA, a mixture of galactic DNA, and in human form, it's just like we're a very special species. And a lot of the planets, we're kind of like, how would I say? We're kind of like in the center stage right now, universally, because we're such a special species and we're in the middle of our planetary awakening. And so they're kind of like, they've done all the things that they could to help us, like in terms of our galactic allies. They've done, they've been helping us with the solar flares so we don't get fried. They've been helping stave off the negative galactics. And, if you're seeing stuff coming out of the earth, it's because they're also, having wars in the earth because there are cities and villages and all that stuff in the earth crust, of galactics and humanoid beings. And so there's a lot of action going on. And there's a temporal war. You've heard me talk about a lot. There's a spiritual war going on, and indeed that's true. And it's also very cosmic. It's happening on many different levels, which is called a temporal war because it's happening on many levels. In the earth plane, in the energy plane, and like the cosmic plane, all different levels and aspects. So that's what's really going on right now. Like people, when they get stuck in their earth stuff, they just think that what they're seeing on the world stage is all that's happening. That's not all that's happening. There's a lot of galactic stuff going on. And because there's a cosmic war, a lot of us have signed up, whether it be consciously, subconsciously, have signed up to help, to have signed up to be warriors in these cosmic wars. And I know that, I have been one of those people. And, there have been moments where I've needed to kind of like take a time out because, there would be like, it's intense, y'all. Like, I've been in those moments where, there are like, and like what are they called, basically those dark forces ships, like I've been there, kind of taking them down with other people and other beings, and it's just, there's a lot going on at night. Okay. So if on some subconscious, conscious soul level, there's a part of you who has said, I'm down for that, I'm going to help out, right? Then you're probably doing a lot of fighting. You're probably doing a lot of warrior stuff at night. And then you wake up and you're like, oh my God, I slept for 10 hours and I'm exhausted. Right. And it's not because, sometimes you can oversleep and then you can be tired. It's not that. It is because you are doing work at night. So if you're not like having, if you're not part of a cosmic war like I am, you're also, traveling. Your higher self can be traveling. I know my higher self does that with my clients, like helps them out in their dreams and stuff like that. And that's just because, when you're really connected with all these aspects of yourself, you're just kind of this multidimensional being who can bilocate and things like that. So I do that, with my clients if needed, right? David is saying, how many battles did I join last night? Yeah, like, who knows, right? It's just so much stuff going on. And so because of all this higher work that you may be doing at night, that's also an aspect of why you might be drained, might be tired when you wake up. So you might be getting adequate hours of sleep, but then when you wake up, it's like, oh my God, I'm tired. I'm really pooped. And so there's that. Also, there's the aspect of, because there's a lot of energy moving around and a lot of, it's not just only beings of light showing up, there's also, negative entities and stuff, really feeding on the fear. And that's why I try to like talk with you guys about clearing out that fear within yourself where you're still highly triggered, because that's food for the negative entities. They like it, it's like their buffet. It's like they love your fear and they consume it like gluttons when you have a lot of it. And so it's time to starve them. It's time to starve them, and so that you can be connected to your energy, to your frequency, and have connection to all of it, right? So that there's no siphoning, leaking of energy happening, right? So if you are an empath and you don't really practice healthy energy boundaries, you might actually be leaking out some of your energy and, whenever anyone's leaking out energy, there's always something there that is only happy to eat that up. So you want to make sure that you're taking care of your energy field too. But that's one of the other reasons why you may be feeling drained. Also, you might need to up level your energy hygiene. And so what I mean by that is um, you might be either leaking out energy, you might be allowing too much energy in your system that doesn't belong to you or doesn't serve you. There's a lot of, all of that, right? And so that's why if you are a light worker, if you work with energy, it is up to you. It's your responsibility actually to really take care of your energy and your frequency. And that's why the activations that I do are so, so powerful to helping light workers who are connected with their purpose really up level fast, because it's just like bam. It's like really actually instantaneous and very powerful. And then it just like reinforces, it instantaneously clears out and also reinforces, I was about to say like a Mack truck, your energy field. Because it's just like bam, out, solid, right? And so, because I mean, as you can hear, even just during this live, right? Like yesterday was nuts in New York City. You might be hearing all the sirens coming by a little bit more than usual today because they were getting ready, like, I mean, I'm right in the middle of Midtown Manhattan, and I see a lot of things going down. And, because of what was going on the news yesterday, yeah, there were a lot of police forces out and cars, and so you might hear some sirens, but this is what I'm talking about. It is just like around your atmosphere, right? But when you are solid in your energy as an empath, as a light worker, as a powerful being in this world, you got your blinders on, you're like, you're on, right? And you don't get taken out by, oh, this person said that, or this thing upset me and all this stuff, and you get to be connected to your light, and you get to be a warrior of light, but you don't get to, or need to, should I say, you don't need to be taken out by stuff that's going on in the world. So those are only some of the things of why you might be feeling drained in your energy right now. Yeah, Carla is sharing on Facebook. I completely understand this. I have felt this for weeks, even when I am aware of it and consciously work to redirect my thoughts. Yeah, David is saying, would second the activation is fast from first-hand experience. Yeah, he was at the 88 portal. That was so amazing. Yes, and Irma is saying we are growing in divine intelligence. Absolutely. And when you grow, there's growing pains and there's a lot of expansion and a lot of, if you are really doing the work and expanding and expanding and expanding, your energy container is going to expand along with it if you're doing it right, right? Which means that you're going to then receive more light and be able to hold more light. And that's when your energy field just like gets bigger. It just gets bigger. And then you can hold more. And that's also what activations do too, is like you just instantly become this like bam, it's like, and then you're like out and your energy field's out here and you're like, more energy please, more light, and then it comes in, you're holding it and it feels awesome. It's amazing, right? So these are where you get to check in on areas where you get to expand. So here are the top 5 energy drains for light workers. These are the areas where your energy might be leaking out or why you might be feeling drained, the top 5 reasons. So you are, number 1, identifying too much with the collective fear. That's number 1. And I spoke about that, earlier about this collective fear, all the triggers of other people when you're kind of unconscious and asleep, you're kind of just operating from survival, and you're not really like living your life. You're just kind of trying to get by, basically that's the survival experience, right? And so that's really getting instigated and prodded and poked right now on purpose. So, anything in your life where you're having that trigger in yourself around survival, around scarcity, check that shit. Check that out, heal it, address it, because that is where that's going to get you. So that was number 1, identifying too much with the collective fear. The number 2 energy drain is not getting enough rest. I know that's probably the most simplistic thing I could be saying about this, but some of you are just not getting enough rest, right? Some of you are just like kind of working the candle from both ends. Maybe you're a new spiritually conscious entrepreneur and you're trying to figure out your schedule. When you are a spiritually conscious entrepreneur, that's something that you get to do. That's what I do with my clients as well, is really help them get a sustainable way of doing their thing. So that looks like, doing your entrepreneurial stuff. That looks like, making time for self-care, taking care of yourself, doing your personal rituals, and also just like being of service, like all of the stuff you want to do, you get to do. But one of the byproducts of not really having a solid schedule that you're kind of checking out and working from is that your rest and your sleep kind of fall to the side. So not only that though, we're under so much, we're receiving so much information, intel, cosmic waves, that we actually do need the extra sleep right now to integrate, because that's how we integrate all these frequencies, is through the rest. Someone is saying here, my brain said, "What is rest?" Yeah, I've seen that before. Yeah, and then I'm seeing a comment here, which is very interesting. When people do activations and offer quantum healing and do a lot of spiritual stuff, but when you see them in their everyday life, not eating clean, being on their phones and ignoring body health, yeah, that happens. And that's something to just like as a quick tip here, like if you're going to see someone for like health, for wellness, for healing, make sure that their vibration is also on point, because their vibration is commensurate with, or should I say congruent with, the lifestyle that they're leading. And if it's congruent with what they're offering, meaning that they don't look like they're possessed with entities, because some spiritual people are like that, right? They're not very clear with their energy boundaries, and they start doing channeling and things like that, which is really dangerous when you're not really clear in your energy. Or they just look like really unhealthy, like their like their skin, their body, their energy, their eye contact. Like, I mean, you can tell with people, if their energy is clear, if they are in integrity, and that's really, really important. So, that's just a little tip from me of like whomever you end up working with, because you should work with somebody. I work with somebody like in terms of a coach and a mentor. That's really, really important to upgrade you. And whomever you decide to choose, check out their vibration, check out their energy, and make sure that it feels like it's congruent with whatever they're offering. And that they look healthy. If they look like all worn out and not taking care of themselves, I mean, it's going to show. It just shows. So, all right, that was number 2, not getting enough rest. Number 3, in terms of top energy drains for light workers, worrying and focusing on what you don't want instead of what you do want. So I get this a lot. I hear this a lot from light workers who are like, I don't want this, I don't want that, I don't want this person in my life, I don't want this, and all this stuff, right? And it's great that you know what you don't want, and that's always a great starting point. But at the end of the day, when you are focusing a lot on what you don't want, and in fact, if you're doing things that you don't want to be doing, that are not aligned, that's draining. That takes up a lot of mental headspace. It takes up a lot of mental energy to keep focusing um, on something that's not authentic to you. It takes a lot of work to stay focused in something, that you're being in a facade around, So that's really, really important to note too. And then number 4, poor energy boundaries is another energy drain. And the reason why is because if you do not have healthy energy boundaries, then you are both receiving a lot of energy from people, and not all of them are going to be conscious, right? That's part of why it can be very, very draining living in a big city. And I learned that many years ago when I first moved to New York, like, I don't know, when was that? Like, I don't know, over 30, 40 years ago or something. Who knows? Um, but the reality is that it's up to you to be responsible with your energy fields. And so if you have poor energy boundaries, you're going to be receiving everyone's energy, you know, good, bad, ugly, whatever it is, you're going to be receiving all of it. I do not recommend that. That's a really fast way to get possessed. It just is. And that's the last thing you really need in the middle of a planetary awakening. So make sure your healthy energy boundaries are addressed. Another thing, that if you have unhealthy energy boundaries or poor energy boundaries, you're also going to be leaking out your energy. So you'll be kind of like subconsciously giving it away to other people, or, you know, I've seen it in people's auric fields where it's like there's a little hole somewhere and it's like leaking out, you know, all that energy is leaking out from that area. So you want to make sure that your boundaries are healthy. And I'm going to talk about that in a little bit too. And then number 5 is the company you keep. That can be a top energy drain for light workers. So I see this a lot, and this is a little bit connected to those light workers who are empaths who don't yet have healthy energy boundaries, is that they're still surrounding themselves with people who are draining, who are energy vampires, who are draining to their energy, who don't have their highest good in mind. And so when you're around people like that, it is going to drain you, and they may or may not be aware of the fact that they're draining you. Sometimes they totally know they are, and they're just like drinking it up because they can, and you don't have healthy energy boundaries, or they don't know, you know, or maybe they're unaware of it. But either way, that's your job to take care of your energy boundaries, right? So those are the top 5 energy drains for light workers. And I'm just going to go through them real quick again in case you're popping in just now. Number 1, identifying too much with a collective fear. Number 2, not getting enough rest. Number 3, worrying and focusing on what you don't want instead of what you do want. Number 4, poor energy boundaries. Number 5, the company you keep. And that's really important because they actually say that the 5 people you most surround yourself by is influencing your energy. So if you kind of like take a mental note about what you are surrounding yourself with, that is directly informing your energy field. So I'm going to now go into what you can do about it. So I'm not going to just leave it here and drop it off here of like, okay, bam, here are the energy drains that you're experiencing. See you later, right? Like, I'm going to talk about solutions next. David saying, yes, back to fundamentals, stuck in survival mode. We push aside basic needs. Absolutely. So that's when we are not really taking care of our energy field. We're not eating well. We're not drinking enough water. And if you're drinking water, make sure you got a lot. I always have like my glass of water beside me, and it's always 100% unfluoridated, no if, buts, or whats, because fluoride will calcify your pineal gland, which is the seat of your higher consciousness. And what I mean by calcifying, it literally calcifies over your pineal gland. So your pineal gland is a little pine cone shaped gland at the center of your brain. I activate that often with people in activations. And the calcification, it comes from, you know, subconscious beliefs, you know, things we've believed, you know, that shit will actually create calcifications in your pineal gland. But also what you eat, and if you are taking in a lot of things with fluoride. So, I mean, even with fluoride, you know, it's a known carcinogen. So, I mean, that's where I draw the line there. If it's going to possibly create cancer in me, I'd rather not. I'd rather not. So all my water is unfluoridated. My toothpaste is unfluoridated, you know, so that's just something to make note of. So here are some things you can do about it. One is have empathy for the collective experience without being enmeshed in it. So I'm not saying be a cold ass robot and like pretend like nothing is happening, or you see someone falling on the street and you don't help them. Like, I'm not saying check out, right? I'm saying don't get intertwined and enmeshed in all the emotion of the pain and the suffering on this planet. And it is totally possible, and you might have seen my reel recently, where I was saying, you are a multidimensional being, and I'm not saying be this scattered person, because there's a difference between being a multidimensional being and someone who's just scattered and not like focusing on shit, right? But when you are multidimensional, there are many aspects to your being, right? So you're not just only this light worker, you're not just only this human being, like you also have maybe a family, maybe you have hobbies that you really love, maybe you love to do other things too, right? All of these things make up you. And so you get to have empathy for the collective experience. You get to, have compassion for what other people are going through, even the people who are saying dumb shit, in your opinion, right? Like, I mean, you get to just love them and be like, I love you, right? You could just be in that and say that genuinely, like, bless you up and down, right? Like when you can go there with the people who piss you off the most or who are triggering you the most and really genuinely feel that, that's really a powerful place to be because, as you can tell, I feel the feelings and the energies, but I don't get wrapped up in that shit, Like, I mean, if something gets like, big, I might have my moment, but I don't take that out on other people, right? You process your stuff, get back to center, and then apply, yourself in the world. So one way to not be enmeshed is to stop plugging into the fear of the collective energy and the collective emotion and pain and suffering. So that means turning off mainstream news. Mainstream news is part of the fear programming. It is part of it. It is really important to not give that energy because not only will it instigate fear in you, it's also inaccurate. Because one thing that I can say, living in the middle of New York City, that there's a lot of shit that's not being televised. And, so it's just because it doesn't make news. Like, being healthy doesn't make news. Rejuvenating your soul, building your immune system does not make the news. Being able to recover faster and having the power within you to change the world, that does not make the news, right? So I'm telling you this because the mainstream news is part of the programming of fear. So, do what you want, but I have a strong encouragement to you to turn that shit off and really do some research on true places where there's actually accurate information and facts. And so you can also be selective with your social media, I mean, I do this a lot where I just like start unfollowing people, not because I follow to unfollow. That's a load of crap for some people, right? Like, that whole follow to unfollow thing that some people do on social media where you follow people just so that you can unfollow them later. And in the meantime, hopefully they follow you. That's a really bad and out of integrity tactic to grow your following. That said, I do this often where I reevaluate, who am I following? Who am I allowing into my energy field? And if they complain a lot, if they're bitching and moaning a lot, if they're not taking responsibility for their life, I just unfollow that shit because I don't have time for that. I just don't. Like, this is time for us to hunker down and, really only fill our soul and our heart with information that feeds and nourishes us. So for me, that looks like unfollowing certain people who are just not aligned. Another way you can do that is you can also mute them, at least on Instagram. I think you might be able to do that on Facebook as well. But you can mute that, right? And so that's for number one, having empathy for the collective experience without being enmeshed in it by unplugging yourself from the fear matrix. So anything that's instigating fear in you, and you'll notice because you're going to start having anxiety, you're going to start having shallow breaths, your breathing will be up here in your chest instead of in your navel. It's just going to be very like, and then you're going to be scattered, and you're going to be like looking out to others to ground you. You're going to be looking out to others for validation and making them responsible for your happiness, right? That's what people who give their power away do. So that was number one. Number two, upgrade your sleep hygiene. So, I'm just going to cover some of the main basics around that. And so that could look like wrapping up your day earlier, going to bed earlier, taking naps during the day, using sleep crystals. I have tons of crystals. I sleep with crystals every night. And some of the ones that are my favorite, that are really awesome, that may be helpful to you are selenite, amethyst, black tourmaline, howlite. These are the ones that really work for me because they just do. But I mean, a lot of these stones that I just mentioned are highly protective. So it'll protect you as you're journeying at night or when you're dreaming, because sometimes there's infiltrations that like to pop in when you're traveling at night in your sleep. So it's just like very protective. And also, you get to set intentions before sleeping. So one thing that I know, if I know that there's a lot of energy coming in, or if I know I'm going to be traveling a lot in my sleep, I will set my intention with my guides, with my higher self, and just say, hey, protect me as I travel tonight, and make sure that I'm protected from all evil as I do my work and as I, travel around and all that stuff. So, making that intention will then allow that to happen so that you are going to be able to wake up without feeling like, oh my God, I just went through the ringer, right? And also, if you're in a cosmic war, I've done this too, where you're just like, I'm gonna have a break right now. I'm gonna have a break from being up in the cosmos and shooting down the entity, the dark galactic spaceships. I'm gonna take a break from that for now. And you can say that, right, and you speak that to your higher self. Another thing that I do is I use tinctures. I use CBD tinctures. There are all kinds of tinctures that I've used in the past, but so far I would have to say the CBD tinctures that I really like are really, really beneficial. And so, that's from a company. I actually have a discount code if you want it. So if you want the discount code for this, DM me because it's not off the top of my head, I forget it. But if I give it to you, it'll be actually 25% off. But the company is called Jampa, and like as you can see, it's like literally on my desk because they have different ones. They have one for sleep, which is this one. There's one for focus, which is this one. I've got like a whole bunch, right? And this is about, as you're ascending, it's about providing new information into your body. So anyway, it's called Jampa, which means loving kindness. I don't know if you can see it. And what I really love about this brand is that it was created by two veterans. And I'll just keep it short because I tend to love to share these resources with you. But they are two veterans who prioritize helping people heal through natural means through CBD, and their CBD is actually also grown now, like because they actually moved their stuff. It's now growing on the Arkansas crystal bed. So it's going to be energized with the crystal of the Arkansas crystal bed. And of course, if you know crystals, Arkansas is has amazing crystal specimens. In fact, I have one with me right here, and I'm just going to share it with you because it's being called for. But yeah, so this is my crystal from Arkansas. So very, very powerful. But anyway, so and they nourish it with solfeggio frequencies, which is very healing to the DNA. So if you want the discount code for that, excuse me, it's like 25% discount code on that, then just DM me, like what the code is kind of thing. Anyway, so I use that tincture, sleep tincture from them, about like an hour before I want to go to bed. And, there's no THC in there, meaning that it doesn't get you high, because that's not my priority here. It's very important to be a clear vessel when you're really showing up as a leader of light. So I don't do shit. I don't do that shit. I don't do things that cloud me up, because, we got a lot of work to do, right? So that's number two, upgrade your sleep hygiene. Number three, stop taking responsibility for other people's journeys and focus on yourself and what's aligned. So that means you get to be an empowered empath who practices healthy energy boundaries. And I always get pushback when I talk about healthy energy boundaries. I get pushback from disempowered empaths, to be honest, who like justify, well, I don't want to shut everyone out, right? That's not what healthy energy boundaries is about. It's not about shutting out everybody. It's about having criteria to enter your energy field. And so that can look like, just saying what you shared is not something that I'm aligned with and I disagree with you, or, I'm not interested in that, or something like that, right? And that's an energy boundary, right? Or if you tell someone who's kind of, trying to take advantage of the situation or something like that, you can say, I'm not comfortable with that, and that's not something that I'm willing to do, right? And just like be very, honest about it. It's really about being honest with your feelings, not being a people pleaser, which is very hard for empaths. And I get it, because I'm an empath too. And it's one of those things where, if you are more focused on pleasing other people and getting other people's approval over showing up in service and making a difference in the world, then that's gonna work you. It's gonna really, really work you. So start to practice healthy energy boundaries. Excuse me, sorry. Stop taking responsibility for other people's journeys and focus on yourself and what's aligned. So keep focusing on yourself, keep focusing on what feeds you and what doesn't, right? And then start being able to state your needs around that, right? And so for some, maybe that does look like distancing yourself from specific people. So that really depends. Number four, practice healthy energy boundaries. So this is connected to number three, which I was just talking about. So when you are practicing healthy energy boundaries, you're saying no to things that you don't want instead of saying yes because you just want to please people, right? Because that's a fast way to get your ass drained. Because it's like if you are saying yes to everything because you just want everyone to be happy with you, then you're going to be drained. You are going to be drained. So say no to what you don't want, be in integrity with what's aligned, and make decisions that get you closer to what you want, and don't participate in things that are not aligned or won't feed your energy. And so this is really, really important as we're going into, for those of us who are here in the US, Thanksgiving holiday this week, Christmas and Kwanzaa and Hanukkah and all these other holidays are happening, now and soon. And so there's going to be a lot of gatherings and a lot of, things where you're going to be around other people, and you get to have that be on your terms, and you get to do that in a healthy way that really feels your energy and feeds your energy. So that was number four about what you can do. And then number five, evaluate the company that you keep. So, when I was talking about the company that you keep, it's really about the people who are most around you, like even the top five. So I invite you to really check out who you're surrounding yourself with, and really taking a mental note around, is this person lifting me up? Is this person, cheering me on and encouraging me to, live my best life? Do I feel really connected and joyful with them? And these are the things that you want to have criteria around, because on the other hand, it could look like, whenever you leave a conversation with them, you're drained or you're very, very angry, right? That means that you've taken on their energy and they've been draining your energy. And another thing too is if they are like trying to, pull you down like crabs in a barrel, right? If they're trying to pull you down, like every time you have like, oh, I'd love to embody this dream or fulfill this purpose of mine, right? And if they're pulling you down and saying you can't do it, or they just don't believe in you, just to give you a quick story on that, you may have heard this before, where I had a partner, a boyfriend, who demanded I provide a business plan for my private practice to him because he didn't believe that I could make it happen. And so obviously we're not together anymore. And no, I didn't provide a business plan. I was like, no, actually, watch me. Because that's what happens when people are saying you can't do something. There are those people who will be like, oh, I can't do it, right? And then there are people like me who's like, really? Well, just watch. And that's what I do. And so that's what happened. And then of course, I created a private practice that is still going strong 12 years later and is very abundant, and it was the first time that I made six figures. And now I'm also doing that online virtually with my bigger, greater power activation work. So evaluate the company that you keep. Make sure they feed your soul. Make sure they lift you up. So if you're just joining today, the topic for today is the top 5 energy drains for light workers and what to do about them. And so let me know if you have any questions about what I just covered. And if you're just popping in now, make sure you check out the replay because I won't be repeating some of these points that I just made here. But we covered why you may be feeling drained in energy right now, the top 5 energy drains for light workers, and what you can do about it. So I hope that served you. Does anyone here have any questions about what I just shared? Let me know in the comments, and I'm going to need to wrap it up in 5 minutes. So make sure that you pop your comments and questions here so I can answer them for you about the topic. Because one thing about light workers is that they like to just ask all the different questions about time and space and the earth continuum and and all kinds of things. But it's really important to stay on point because that's what light workers do. That's what light leaders do. And so as you're putting in your questions in the comments, I'm just going to share with you, giving you a heads up that come next week, it's not that I'm not going to be doing the live show next week because that's still happening. So we will be having our live show next Monday at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. But I'm also going to be announcing a very special opportunity to work with me live in a group experience because, as many of you know, I only do one-on-one private work, deep transformation work with my private clients. But once in a while, like soon, I am going to be actually offering some group dynamic where I'm going to be providing power activation work to really upgrade you quickly and also really help you with transformation. And so it's going to be a 2-day live event, not a whole day. It's not going to be 2 whole days, but there will be live events on both days. And I'm going to announce the details next week on Monday. So make sure that you check it out because you're not going to want to miss it. It's going to be really powerful. And if you've ever been curious about doing work with me, experiencing it in the group experience is a really powerful way to do that. So let's see if you have any questions here. So someone's asking, I know you said it's best to say, I don't know what she's saying there as a response, but let's say, oh, I love you, I guess that stands for I love you, I guess. But let's say it's a bad parent and you finally feel like being honest about how you feel about them. So yeah, and so here's the thing, right? Sometimes being loving means saying, here's your shit, here's a mirror and here's your shit. That can be one of the most loving things you can do to somebody. And they may not see it that way at the time. Sometimes, like I would say probably 100% of the time, they'll be like, excuse you? Who are you to be saying this to me? But that is one of the most loving things you can do to someone. If you really want to help them to see their shit, you actually hold up that mirror and say, look, this is the impact of what you've created, right? And then also you get to take responsibility for that too, right? Because all of these experiences we're experiencing, it's a two-way street. Okay, so you get to also take responsibility for your part in creating it. And that's really, really important. So that's a great question. Ashma's asking, what's the best way to set boundaries with friends and family members who are aware of your gifts and tend to take advantage? Yeah, so it depends on the situation. It's kind of like a case by case basis. So I'll just kind of take a general scenario. And so like for instance, there was one time, like many years ago, I don't know, where some of my family members, like they knew about my abilities and things, and also with acupuncture, because I'm a licensed acupuncturist, a Reiki master teacher, medicine woman, in addition to being an activator of the new code of power, and a spiritually conscious entrepreneur, as we are many different things. They would ask me a bunch of like pain management questions like, oh, what should I do for like my rotator cuff, or my hip is feeling this way, or my sciatica is popping up. And so, of course I have things to share about that, but I share that with my patients. It's a little bit of that pick your brain thing that happens. And I'm sure other healthcare practitioners experience that too. And so, like I'll usually say something that would be helpful. And then if there's some additional is if it's followed up by additional requests and whatever, then that's when if it's really a deep concern, then you can be like, well, maybe we can talk about that. Maybe we can actually do a session, and uh, you know and I can go deeper on that with you, for you. And I've done that with friends, too, where, sometimes I'm like, most of the time I'm just very generous, and you get to be generous. But if it's kind of coming, it depends on where they're coming from. If it's from a place of taking, you can pick up on that energy very quickly. When people, like, when I say the energy of taking, it's like they just come in and they just want, right? Like they just want, I want to take from you, and then, but I have no intention to give or provide any value to you, right? That is taking energy. And when someone is like that, that's a little bit more like energy vampire-ish. So you can say, well, that's, you can do all kinds of things. You can even say, well, that's something that, I discuss with my private clients, that happens sometimes too, just to like give you a demonstration of how that looks like. Even in my DMs, people will just ask me, for free advice on their life, right? And so, when I start then putting in some healthy energy boundaries around, well, that's an awesome question, and this is something that I actually explore with my private clients. And if that's something you'd like to explore and see if you're interested in that, we can have a conversation. And so that is how you kind of create some energy boundaries around things. And with family, it can just look like, changing the subject in a really nice way. And one good way that I love changing the subject is asking them about them, because people love to talk about themselves. And so if you just have a question about, something they're creating, then, that's an awesome way to kind of change the subject, and also, have it be a very connecting kind of experience. So there are so many ways, and I know that might not have been very satisfying as a response, Ashma, but it's very like case sensitive, like as if I'm creating a Word document. But it's really about case by case basis. I think that's what I was trying to say. So, but there are so many ways you can slice and dice having healthy energy boundaries in loving ways. And here's the thing too, on that note, don't get too wrapped up in creating energy boundaries with, from a place of, I want them to feel comfortable, or I want them to not be angry with me. Because if that's your criteria, then that's going to come across in how you address the situation. And also, that's not your job to care about their feelings. Like, honestly, I hate to say it, but it's not your job. Like, if they're having a reaction, that's not your responsibility to take care of the reaction. They're grown-ass people, and they get to take care of the reactions, right? So yes, we are not responsible for other people's feelings, journeys. What about your thoughts and responsibility to your children? And I get this question often when I talk about energy boundaries, because then all the mamas start getting up in my business. And it's like, of course, you're going to be taking care of your children, right? But the thing is that they also have their own mission in this world, right? And so it's one of those things where it's part of being a parent. Like, I can't say from experience, right? But it's part of being a parent is being able to be that energy container for your child, and really teach them how to have healthy energy boundaries, right? So let's see. Just checking out. Okay, so I think that was all for the questions. These are really great questions. And so I hope that really helped you. And if you're just joining us now, the topic today was the top 5 energy drains for light workers and what to do about them. So if you're just joining us now, make sure you check out the replay. It's going to be here in the video section on Instagram and also on Facebook. So make sure you check that. And yeah, and the thing with and this is, it's easier to say and harder to practice, but the thing is, with when it comes to children, it's about leading the energy. That's also where you get to be in your leadership, right? Because I've seen it happen, because I have colleagues who are in a mastermind with me who are moms, and they are the ones who hold the energy, and their children respond to that energy, right? If you're a hot mess and you're like fearful about everything, they're going to pick that up, and it might not show in the way that you might think, but it'll come out, like they're going to pick up on that stuff. Okay, everyone, so I will hope that was of service to you, and make sure you check out my posts. And if you're in my email community, check out your email on next Monday, next week, for a very special offering where you and I get to work together in a group dynamic and experience activations and upgrades and training and all this stuff. It's going to be really juicy, and it's also going to be really fun. So I invite you to join us. So make sure you check out my posts and my emails next week on Monday, and I will see you next Monday on the 29th at 2 p.m. Eastern. Much love, light, and power to you.